Hello everybody. Put them there, I'll remember where they are. Hi Amanda. Finally found my tripod, thankfully. Hidden in plain sight, so they say. So now we've got it, hopefully I'll be able to do a few more tutorials. Tonight, as promised, is going to be the little hand warmers. Really easy to make. Hopefully I'll demonstrate two ways of making them. One's going to be a bit more advanced for people who sew, who will find it quite easy, and then I'll do another way that will be slightly different, kind of the same outcome though, but especially if you're working with kids, a lot easier for them. So so yeah, two different ways. So hi Sandra. So basically all you need is, I mean, you can use any fabric, but I have got some packs ready made at the studio that you can either do a click and collect this week, or you can I can post them out even. They are, you have your fat quarter of your fleece, your fat quarter of the fabric, your matching fabric, some ribbon as well that you can embellish with, and the pattern. So everything you need there, apart from obviously your rice, especially if I'm going to post out, you need, you know, it'd be easier to get your rice. I've just bought, in fact I think I've had this a little while because I bought it for another project. So just a bag of rice, of which you don't need a great deal for each one. Now yes, you do need a sewing machine for this one, although you could do it by hand. If you did it by hand, you might want to put the rice in a sock or something first, quite a thin sock, just to keep it together so nothing falls out. But ideally, a sewing machine you need. Okay, so tools that I've got a Sharpie, because when I'm drawing around the pattern, it stands out better, so you'll be able to see it better. If you're competent enough, you just pin it to the fabric and off you go. I've got some pinking shears for the second phase that I'll show you. Obviously my scissors, an unpicker if I need it, my two demos, and the fat quarter pack. I've got some pins as well, in a pin cushion, and I go through quite a lot of irons. I don't know about anybody else, but in the studio I probably go through about 4 a year, and I always get these little water things with them. So this has been ideal actually for this project, so I'm going to use that tonight. Okay, so this is the first one I've done with the sewing machine, so hopefully when I angle the camera down, you will be able to see the table that I'm working on and then the sewing machine. So fingers crossed, let's hope it works. Okay, so let's hope this doesn't fall over. Maybe push it back a little bit. There we go, maybe a bit more. It's one of those that actually attaches to, you know, it goes around things, so it's not particularly solid, but we'll give it a go and see how it is. Okay, so you can see the table. I think that needs to come up a little bit more. Let me just pop that up. No, that needs to be a little bit higher so you can see the machine. Okay, I might have to adjust as we go along, but hopefully you can see that. Okay, so first things first is obviously just unpack the fat quarter pack. So your ribbon you can just put to one side for now. You've got your pattern. I think I'm going to do these slightly different. So your pattern and your instructions are all there. You've got your fat quarter of fabric. You can use, I just thought that was cute, the fabric I had with the little mittens on. So I'm going to use that tonight. And then you've got your fat quarter of fleece fabric. Now, I think you will probably get 1, 2, 3, you might get 6 or 8 out of this fabric. So they're going to make great presents for people. Great for the kids as well, and they really do work. My studio is quite cold in the winter, so I just bung them in the microwave and then use them quite often throughout the day. Okay, so I've actually put the seam allowance on this pattern, so we're going to cut out, in fact I'm going to pin it first just to keep it in place. Just pin it into place, and if it depends on how you want to do this, you can either pin just to the fleece and cut the fleece out first, or if your scissors are really good, then you'll be able to manage to, hi Jenny, you might be able to manage to cut out the fabric as well. So I'm all for saving time, so I'm going to put that underneath, and then I'm going to pin it to that as well. Now, whenever I'm doing sewing lessons, I've actually got a pin in my mouth now. Whenever I'm doing sewing lessons, I always say to people, a lot of people take the pins out and then they put them on the table. Don't do that. Straight back into the pin cushion. If you've got kids, pets, just make sure that you're safe. Now, the easiest way I think of cutting out is, instead of working with the whole piece of fabric, I generally just cut round that piece first, and then just get rid of that, just out the way there. We'll come back to that in a bit. Okay. I've folded the fabric underneath, but we actually only need one of these. So when we come to do the other one, we'll have two already cut out, so that's fine. So just now you've got, this moves around a lot easier. So when you're cutting out, be careful of any tables that you're going to be cutting onto, and make sure that your scissors are nice and sharp. You just cut round the fabric and see the way it's turning round. It's a lot easier. Now I've cut to that point there, I'm going to cut that bit away. See, just discard that, and then I'm going to come back from this side now, because I'm right-handed. It's actually easier to cut around that way. And just keep cutting away at it, so you know you've got more control over it. And then around, don't worry too much, it doesn't have to be precise, because that's actually going to be going to be sewn on the inside, with what I call, well, everybody calls this bagged out, so don't worry about that. So pins out into your pin cushion. Okay, just put the pattern to one side so you know where it is. And then you've got your two fleece panels, and then you've got just one we need there. Okay, so just get rid of that, just put that one there. Okay, so if you wanted to just do the fleece, you don't have to put this on. This is just for decoration. You just put, if your fleece has an obvious right side and wrong side, you put your right sides together. Okay, because I'm putting this on here as decoration, that's the right side. I'm going to put that pattern right side up, and then I'm going to sandwich that into the middle. There. Get my pins again, and just pin the whole thing together so it doesn't move. Because what you want to do is, when you go around the seam allowance, you want to be able to catch all of the fabrics, all three layers together, because you don't want any holes at all, because if you get a hole, then it will just look a bit messy, but also you don't want any holes where the rice is going to come out. Okay, so I'm going to get my machine. Ideally, you want some cotton that is already, that is the same colour as the fleece. Now, another tip, because this is different, it's quite thick, this fabric, and it's slightly different, I always tend to use a piece of scrap first before going on to my fabric. And that there, you can see. And just give it a try, really, and make sure that I'm happy with the way it's stitching. Okay. Okay, that seems to be okay. Yeah, just check your stitching. I'm going to leave that up 3.5. That's quite a big stitch. I'm just going to tie my hair back because it's annoying me and it's safe to do so. Okay. So you need to start, doesn't really matter which end you start on, because what we're going to do is we're going to sew round all of it but leave this bit, the top of the bottom open. Okay, so when you do that side and you do that side, make sure that you back tack. Okay, so I'm going to pop it in. Now, the seam allowance, I've done it so it's thereabouts the width of the foot. Okay, so if you back tack, yeah, it's not struggling, but you can feel the resistance. So I'm just going to sew all the way around. Now on the curve, if you're struggling to twist it, just get to the point where you think it's going to come off. Make sure your needle is down. Lift your foot up and turn it ever so slightly, and then that will get you around the edge. Okay, just keep doing that until you get round. Now again, like I said, you can hand sew this, so don't worry if you haven't got a machine. Okay, so when you come to the point where the thumb is, you need to make sure that your needle is down, you lift up your foot and you twist it so it's in the position where you can go around the thumb. Okay, and now this will need some help going around the corner because it's quite tight, but just be patient with it. You can see how quick it's actually coming together. Now my pins, I use extra long pins because of the dressmaking, but just make sure that your pins are not in the position where you're going to go over it. Back down to the other side and then back tack. Okay, and up it goes. Really quick. So I'm just going to get rid of the machine over to there. So as you can see by there, just there, it's very close from the underside. What happens with fleece, especially because there's 3 layers, it pushes it out the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that back onto the machine, and I'm just going to go from the point where the just where the thumb comes out, and I'm going to go round it again just there, just to make sure that I've doubly caught it. So take your time with this. There's no right or wrong way with it. Just make sure you're happy with it. I'm going to give it a little back tap there, and I'm not coming in very much, I'm just making sure that I've caught all the layers in. Okay, take it out again. Now, most people will find the next bit is quite tricky. You could probably turn that through, and it would be okay, but there's certain points where you need to snip into. Whenever there's a curve, if you snip into it, it will make things turn through much nicer, and especially the point there. So the first thing, I'm just going to take my pins out because I don't need those now. Again, back into the pin cushion. You'll be glad of it later when you're walking around with bare feet. Okay, so I'm just going to snip into the corner there. Now, if you've got very good scissors and good control, you can just do that with one snip. And if you do find that you've gone through the stitching, then just pop it under the machine again. And then I'm going to go round and about just under 1 centimetre each time. See what I'm doing there? I'm just creating little snips right up to the stitch line. You don't want to go through the stitch line, but if you do, don't worry, just pop it back under the machine and create a new one. And just go right the way round. Right the way round. Now I didn't need my my pen actually to draw around the little pattern that I used. So unless you're doing quite a few and you want to cut out a lot, you could probably draw around it first instead of cutting them out and then cut them all out together, so you know you've got enough fleece. But if you do draw around it, make sure you draw around the back of the fabric, not the front of the fabric that's going to be showing. Okay, so simple. So when you so when you look at that now, when that comes through, when that gets pushed through, see the way it opens, and it's got much more. There's no resistance there. Okay, so now when you turn it through, because there's 3 pieces in there, you want to make sure that the piece with the fabric on is next to, so because obviously that's in the middle, so you want to make sure the fabric is lying to one side and then you're pushing it through from there. But make sure that when you push it through, you're pushing it through with the right side of the fabric, not the other way, because then that's going to be inside out. So see that fabric there? See the way that is there? That's no good. We need that to be on that side. Now just be careful pushing it through, just be gentle, just give it a little bit of a push and use your fingers to try and push out all of the fabric. Okay, now, I mean, that's pretty good just on its own like that. So there's the first bit. I mean, you could use those as mittens actually. Now you could use your pen and go in and just push it into the circular corners, if there is such a thing. Just like that, just to help it. So yeah, quite cute in itself already. And these look great with any kind of fabric. Now, I've been using about, I mean, I use this, and it's about 100 millimeters. So if you're using any kind of measuring cup, 100 millimeters. I know it's obviously a liquid measurement, but it gives you an idea of how much, because it's difficult to see on video what how much I'm using. Okay. Now before we put that in, I attach some bows to it from the actual ribbon that I supply with the kit. Just finishes it off and makes the red pop. Now the first time I did this, I did it at the end, but I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this one. I think I'm going to attach it. So I just made some little bows. I'm going to attach it because I can get my fingers in there then, you see. So I think just attach it while I haven't put the rice in. So just a couple of stitches, just in and out. Just anchor it first onto your fabric. You could add buttons on this, you could embellish with anything you want really, but the ribbon comes with the pack, so you may as well use that. Now it depends on which side you want your bow to sit. I've done it so it's facing that way, so I'll do the same because I know it looks nice. So just put your bow there and then just come through it a few times and then take it from the back and pull it through. And a couple, 3 or 4 should do it. You could sew down the ends as well, but I quite like, when you have a bow, I quite like just stitching it in from the middle and then everything else is loose. And you could put like a little beads on there on top of it, or little crystals, anything really to make it look pretty. Hopefully you can see this. And then that should do. Sewn in quite a lot. I've doubled the thread as well, which will give it more strength, and then just knot off from behind. And with this way, the way I did it last time, I think it was a bit of an afterthought, to be honest, thinking, oh, that would look quite nice, but this way everything's neat and it's all behind. So again, cut that off, put your needle back in your pin cushion so you know where it is, and then that's that there. Okay, so when you fill your rice into your little pocket, make sure that you're doing it where, see this bit here, there, you want to kind of forget about that. You don't want that there at all. You just want to make sure that it goes in where both pieces of fleece are. So again, this is really great, this, because you can just pop it in nice and easy. It's like it was made for this thing. Okay, and that's probably about enough. You don't want too many. And then all we need to do to seal the end, now your machine may struggle with this, but again, just take your time, and if you're happy to do so, use the machine. If not, just hand sew it, because what you need to do now is just turn it in so you haven't got any raw edges. So you can turn it in and pin that if that's going to help you keep it in position. These pins don't like this fleece. There you go. And then I'm just going to stitch over that, make sure everything is popped in and it's nice and neat. You might find it's neater and easier to hand sew this, but for the purpose of tonight I will just hopefully get that through the machine, because you've got to think now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 6 layers there, so you know you want to make sure that it's going in. Yeah, that did, I could feel the resistance there. Okay, so it is sewing, but it's being a bit, doesn't quite like it because of the thickness, but it will go through. Just take your time with it. Try and make it as neat as you possibly can. Use your scissors if you have to. Just use your scissors to poke in the corners and make sure that's all in. Okay. Now I'm going to back tack before I hit that seam, because then I know it's not as thick, because on that corner, if we've had 6 layers, then that must be 12 layers. It's quite a lot to go through a machine. Again, just take your time. Okay. And that is it. There's your little hand warmer. So really, really simple to make. This is a great little project for kids to make, for grandparents, or even for themselves, because these are reusable again and again and again. And all you need to do is pop that in the microwave for, I would say, a minimum of 30 seconds, no more than a minute, depending on how much rice you put in. Just check it, put it in for 30 seconds first of all. Then if it's not quite hot enough, put it in for 40 seconds. Make sure that when you take them out, they are quite hot to touch, but then they soon, not cool down, but they're not as hot after a couple of seconds. So, and then you just put them in your pockets, put your hands on them, keep warm. So just try, you know, anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute. And then they last, I would say, 20 minutes or so. Yeah, a good 20 minutes or so. They're still quite warm at the end of it, and then you keep reusing them and reusing them. Just make sure you don't put them in for too long, because you don't want the rice to scorch. Okay, so that is really important. So what I'll do now is I'll show you an easier way of doing it, and that way, you know, if you want the kids to do the sewing rather than turning it inside out and all of that kind of malarkey. Okay, so I'm going to use this time this as the pattern, because I want to make sure that I'm cutting out the right way, because obviously this is one way, and if I cut the pattern out it might sit upside down. So I'm going to do that like that. Now I've not been very economical with this fabric. You could definitely get 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs. You could get 8. No, you could get 4. So definitely get 4 out of there. Okay. So again, pin it down. Pin it down. Now this time I'm going to use the pinking shears. First of all though, I'm going to cut round like before, just to get rid of all that excess fabric, just so you're a bit more in control, especially when it comes to scissors. Okay, then I'm going to use the pinking shears. Now hopefully it will cut through all 3. It's struggling a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut round it first of all. I wonder if I've brought the wrong pinking shears home. I've got two sets. One's not particularly very good and one's very good. Right, okay, let me see if I can do these two together. No, still struggling. I think I may have brought the wrong ones home actually. That's better. So just go round it with the pinking shears. And then that way, I mean, pinking shears are, they either work or they don't. I've never really found a pair that I love. I have a love-hate relationship with them. I mean, maybe if you're doing this with kids, then maybe if you do this first, because they're quite big as well. Quite hard to handle. I feel like this is the first time I've ever used a pair of pinking shears. They're not the best. Just going to tidy that up a bit. Okay, I'll do this side. I've definitely brought the wrong ones home. The other ones whizzed through this the other day. It's like organised chaos. It'll take me a little while to get into these tutorials. The reason I'm doing it is because I did do quite a lot of lessons, especially with kids, and obviously I can't do that at the moment, so I feel like people are missing out. I'm definitely missing out on, you know, showing people what to do and the fun side of it. So I thought, well, if I come up with a few easy projects, fun projects, then you know, both children and adults can do. Okay, yeah, that's not too bad. Go across the bottom as well. Oh, these are awful. Oh. Actually, let's see what they're like on the actual fabric. Probably just as bad. Oh God, they're even worse. Okay. I've definitely brought the wrong ones home. You kind of get the gist, don't you? It's not going to be as nice and neat this though as I wanted it to be. So get yourself a pair of decent pinking shears or bring the right ones home. Oh, these are rubbish. So it's just kind of squashing that at the end. But you do get the gist, you know what it's going to look like. Now it'll have a really nice serrated edge. So basically you just, instead of sandwiching that in now, you just place one on top of the other. And then place that one on the top. And then basically we're going to sew around, leaving the top open again. But this saves turning it through. So a little bit easier for kids. Now it is a bit tatty, which is a bit disappointing, that, but never mind. Okay, back tack at the end again. Now what's happened there is I can feel that's chewed in underneath, and it might be because of the pinking shears have made that a bit fuzzy. So I'm just going to take that out and start again a bit further up. Now believe it or not, this one was meant to be the easier version. So just sew around. Right into your, where the thumb is, make sure that the needle is down, turn it, lift it if you need to, and then back tack. Okay. great, but it would have looked great if I'd have brought the right ones home. Okay, so again, so we're at the point now where we just fill. These will be a lot quicker as well for kids. So if you want to make a couple for friends and family for Christmas, they could probably knock out a few in an hour. Now, if you are sewing with kids, obviously, you know, most kids who sew and they know what they're doing, they are quite competent. But sometimes if you don't want to turn your back on them, you just want to make sure that you stay with them, just in case they catch their fingers on anything. Yeah, it is a good idea to stay with them. And I think, I mean, it depends on the child. If the child is, you know, if a child is sewing early on, then they can sew from like 5 or 6 as soon as they can reach the pedals, to be honest. But usually around about 8, I find, is a good age. It's when they can kind of comprehend the dangers of a sewing machine. Sometimes things going together. I always say it's like a 3D jigsaw puzzle. And sometimes it just all comes together at the end of it, and you can't see the way as you're going through, as you're sewing something, how it's going to work. So sometimes kids don't grasp that. So if you find, made a mess there, if you find that they're not getting it, leave it for a little while and maybe go back to it. It's not something that they may never want to do. They might just need that little bit more time for them to be ready for it. So just play it by their ear. There we go. Let's get the hoover out later. Okay, now I'm going to sew the bow on after I've sewn it up, so I can give you an idea of what I meant by being a bit easier the other way. So back tack it, and then back tack it. So although you've got the stitching on the top there, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. These turn out a little bit bigger as well, because obviously all your inside seam is on the outside now. But when they are nicely, let me try that all together. Ooh, it's working a bit better. I'm just going to tidy that up a bit. How strange is that? I'll just tidy that up around it. With pinking shears, just see if you make sure you get fabric ones, because obviously you can get scissor ones, you can get paper ones as well. But just make sure that you get something that's going to be, you know, when it comes to scissors, spend as much as you can afford. Good scissors when you're sewing, it's just invaluable. You'll just go through far more pairs of scissors if you just buy, you know, scissors that are, say, £1 or something like that. That's a bit better. Still not wonderful, but it is better. But, you know, that's just as nice, you know, when you look at it. That's the one I made there. Slightly bigger, but that's fine. And again, looks great on its own, but if you pop a bow on it, just there. Now, when you're sewing it on, try not to go through to the other side, because I'm using red cotton here, because obviously my bow is red. Just try and stitch through the front of the fabric, and then just through the bow there, and then round the back again. So if you just push it back and just go underneath, and then through the bow, back through, but not quite through the fabric, and then the fabric, so you've got more control there. And then just a couple of times is enough, and then tie it off, and there you go. So that must have been, I don't know, probably took 15 minutes or so to make 2. So very simple. As I say, I've got the packs in the studio. If you wanted one and you want me to post out, that's fine. The postage will be, I think the post and packaging for this particular set, because it's quite thick, is £1.64, and the packs are £4.99. So a nice little craft, a nice little idea, something for Christmas for the kids to make, or even you to make, and they are brilliant. They really do work. Keep your hands warm, and you do get your pattern. So you can use any fabric for the top. In fact, you know, have a look on the Facebook page. I've got lots of different Christmas fabric, and I've even got some red fleece as well. So if you wanted red instead of the blue, I just liked all the colours together. Okay, so that is the latest tutorial. I'll put on in a couple of days the next one, what I'm going to do, and then hopefully you'll join me for that one. If you do make these up, can you send me some photos? Because I do love to see the pictures of what people have made. Hi Linda, it's a hand warmer. So if you watch the video back, you've got all the instructions on there. Now, if you put that, now we've made it up, if you pop that in the microwave for 30-40 seconds, it's got rice inside and it keeps your hands warm for about 20 minutes. So they're just really, really cute. I really like them. So lots of people might be getting these for Christmas this year. Okie doke, so thanks for joining me, and I will do the next one, might do it in a couple of days. I'm going into the studio tomorrow for click and collect. I've also got some work in hand that I want to get on top of this week, so I'll be doing that at some point. I'll be in Tuesday, Wednesday this week, so you can either just come and collect a set, or you can have it posted out. Okay, so stay safe everybody. I look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Bye now.